Dazzler's Craft. Handcraft custom trainers designed in-house. From your favourite football team or player to that band you've always loved. dazzlerscraft.co.uk.
Welcome to my Best 11 podcast. Today we are joined by a West Country, I'd say West Country legend. He's so well liked down there and loved down there, and also ex-manager of a number of clubs, including Weymouth, Torquay, Bristol, very own Luton, Cheltenham, and is currently living in the States at the moment. And Marv is actually in another room to make sure we are keeping this legit. Some people have seen on social media who we're talking about. We're talking about Paul Buckle. How are you, Paul?
Hi, Andrew. Hi, Marvin. I'm good, thank you.
Excellent. Marvin, how's the holiday, and how is seeing Paul?
Holiday, yeah. I mean, he's a tremendous host. He moans a lot, as most ex-players do. Well, yeah, ex-player and manager. I mean, don't touch that, Marv. What are you doing over there, Marv? Leave that alone, Marv. It's like, again, I mean, I think he gets me confused with his son, Teddy, sometimes. So it's fine. I mean, I'm a kid at heart. That's true.
Which one's better behaved in the house? Marv or your son, Paul?
Andrew, let me tell you, Marvin, he's smart. He's smart. He's got in there saying that I'm moaning way before I can get in there about him. Marv's really interesting. You know, like I said, Marv, just don't touch them curtains. Yeah, right, Bucks. Next minute they're on the floor. Don't let the cats in, Marv. Yeah, okay, then both cats are in. And he's just trying to change everything. But yeah, he's definitely more high maintenance than my 5-year-old Teddy. And and he's been threatening me, as you know, on social media for the last 6 years, I think, to beat me at tennis, which I'll let him explain how that went today.
Oh, yeah, listen. Yeah, we'll get straight into it now. 6-1, 6-love, 6-1 to Bucks. Listen, you've been playing. But I said, I'm glad all those lessons you've been having, which when I've been down there, it's paid off. I'll be back tomorrow. Or tonight. We'll play again. No problem.
Fantastic. We are here, though, to talk about Paul's playing career, and we're also touching his management as well, but Paul's playing career and the best 11 players he ever set foot on a pitch with. So those newcomers to the pod, what we can do is we're going to go through, first off, look at formation, then go through the team. Halfway through, we'll have Miles 60 seconds, and then we'll finish off by Paul talking about the best manager he's ever worked under as well. So we will start off with formation, Paul. Where are you going with formation?
Well, this isn't a formation, Andrew, that I like to play, but to get this team, these individuals in, I've gone 4-4-2 because I want to be really attack minded. So I have four attackers in there without giving too much away. So yeah, 4-4-2 system, and I've got loads of subs. Not that those subs will be very happy.
Honourable mentions are allowed. Just going to your 4-4-2. You said that you're doing it almost to fit the players in. Is that something you ever did as a manager, in terms of would you change your methods to fit, especially when you go into a club to start with?
Yeah, it's a good question. They say you shouldn't, because it's almost like accommodating, right? And you shouldn't do it. But I did it once at Torquay where I had 4 strikers and I wanted to play them all. And I got them all into the office and said, right, okay, none of you are a winger. None of you, really are an out 10 and 9, but I want to play all of you up top. So they looked at me and I said, but you've got to promise me one thing. When we lose the ball, you get back into those positions. So the nearest person to the right back, you go, the nearest one to the left back, one short on the holding midfielder and one stay high. Can you do it? You've never heard forwards answer so quickly. Yeah, we can do that. We can absolutely do that. And it really worked. It really worked, because the one thing it did, I had 4 out and out goal scorers on the field that could finish. And when we were crossing, say from the left, Jake Robinson, like Billy Key would be inside where you actually want wingers to be. And sometimes wingers won't be inside the fullback. So we really did crash the box when the ball was being delivered, and very, very direct, and had two really responsible midfielders behind it in Lathrope and Ewan O'Kane that you would know. But yeah, that was the time where I really wanted to get them players on the field.
Oh, interesting. So we'll go on to goalkeepers. Start off with goalie. Over to you. Give us some clues as we go. See if I can do any better than I have in previous episodes. And honourable mentions.
Okay, so this goalkeeper obviously played with me, but he was also a colleague with me as well. He started his career at Millwall, I believe, and played a number of games at Colchester and Luton.
Go on, Andrew.
Has he been on this podcast?
He absolutely has been on this podcast, Andrew.
He loves pigeons.
He's a great friend.
He loves pigeons.
He does, from what we've heard. Carl Emberson.
Yes.
Oh.
Am I allowed to clench my fist if when you get one right, Andrew?
Yeah.
He doesn't. Half doesn't.
How was he going to get that one wrong, by the way? Oh, come on, stop that. This is him competing against me, ganging up on me because he knows that at the start, it was all Andrew. You was just bringing it to the table. But then now I've come strong in the last few weeks. He's all against me now. But listen, well done, Andrew.
Hey, I grew up in the West Country. Well, I spent 4 or 5 years in the West Country, so I know a few of the players down there from my time down there. So,
anyway,
we'll get on to Embo. We're here about
Embo.
Yeah, Embo, just say that. Go on, go to Embo. What was it, then, Bucks?
Embo, well, you know him well, Marv, and you've had him on the show, obviously, Andrew. What you see is what you get with Embo. I think that is how I'd explain him in a nutshell. And you want that when you're in management. You want staff around you that are not going to sugarcoat it. They're going to tell you how it is. I think he's been a winner wherever he's been. Maybe he won't be able to get his head through the door, Marv, will he? Like for this, he's been a winner, and he understands how to win. He's great company. I shared a car school with him. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. We'll say how he's in the car school as well. He can be really harsh, but yeah, he's a great friend. He's somebody you definitely want in your team, and he never shirked responsibility. So yeah, Embo for me, and also he had a long career. He's a real winner. That's how I describe him.
Yeah. So what makes him better than the other goalies who you could have picked? What particular characteristic is it about the goalie? Because they're a different breed.
Well, yeah. I mean, obviously playing with him a number of games, his consistency in the way he was and his demands and his expectations. I mean, I played with, going back to like Tony Parks. I had Tony Parks written down to start with, who was fantastic. I was a young kid at Brentford at the time trying to make it, and Parksy was great with us, and he was a legend obviously at Spurs, and Steve Perriman brought him in, and he was a fantastic keeper. I mean, they're all mad, by the way, keepers. Ashley Bays, crazy. Obviously, Kelvin Davis. Kelvin actually come and played. I don't know if you knew this, Marv, but he come on loan to Torquay.
Yeah.
As a kid. I think Basie got injured, and Kelvin coming in. You could see straight away he was a top goalkeeper, Kelvin. Even as I think he might have been 18 or 19. Yeah. He come in, and I got to know Kelv when I went to work at Southampton a little while ago. So yeah, some really good goalies. But with Embo, there was a consistency about him. He made it clear what he wanted from the back four. I think he always contributed, Andrew, as well. Like at half time, if it weren't going right, or even if it was going well, he would say. I think he was. That's why, for me, and winning promotion with him as well. So one promotion with him at Colchester, where he played very well on the night. He played very well at Wembley.
And as goalies go, like you said, I mean, he was quite smart, Embo, in my opinion. He was quite smart. He wasn't like daft as a brush, as you would say some goalies are. Embo's quite smart. I'll give him that credit.
Yeah, I think he knew his strengths and weaknesses. So if you're going to make it, as Marv, you've got to know what your strengths and weaknesses are. And he knew that. He knew. But when it come to the crunch, when it really come down to it, you could really rely on him. And he had when he was at Walsall, I think he was also one with Walker when he was fighting out for walks, you know, and he knew that Walker was a really good goalie. He would say that, Embo, you know, but Walker knew he had to be on his game in training and every week because Embo was ready to go in. So I think he's shown a lot as a really true professional.
No, definitely. So moving on to right back.
Right back. This player started his career at Tottenham and I played with him at Brentford. Athletic, got forward. I think so. Back in what would it have been in the 90s when I played at Brentford, he came in from Spurs and he's almost like a Carl Walker type. You know, he's ahead of his time for me, and a great laugh off the field as well. We had of course there was. There's a drinking culture at the time at Brentford. There's no point in line at that time. And Brian, said his name. There you go. Sorry, my bad.
Yeah, you killed it. You idiot.
No. Damn it! What am I doing? No, he was brilliant on and off the field. Hopefully, he still won't get him.
But like, are you saying is he right back or left back? This one,
right back.
I thought he's left back. Statham. All right, it's fine. Brian Statham, yeah.
Well played, Marv. How do you know him, or how did you know him?
Tottenham, bald head. I thought he was a left back. I don't know.
No.
Okay. All right.
No, unless he gives you a ring and I've got it wrong. No, he was right back for us.
No.
Do you play against?
Yeah, well, yeah, because he was same age as Philip Gray. He played in the same team, coming with, I think, the apprentices at the same time at Tottenham coming through. And yeah, Stafe was like, but for some reason I just thought he was a left back. I don't know why.
Andrew, Andrew, hold on a minute. What an anorak Marvin is. He's what?
I'll tell you what, it's amazing knowledge. His knowledge and his memory is incredible going back to the youth days. That's why he's.
Go on.
I saw one of the comments that was actually put on Twitter after one of our recent podcasts was that I need to get the Rothmans 1980s book. But you know what?
Yeah, I saw.
You know what? He's probably right. Because Marv is like I reckon I'm a Rothmans from noughties onwards, but Marv is like a Rothmans all the time. It's amazing.
That's hard. That's harsh, though. That's harsh because, like, you're younger, much younger than me. And so, like I said, I know those players, or if roughly that era, I should know those players because I played against most of them. Like, Stafe was like one who's like same age as me, so I should roughly. Like you said, Tottenham, you know, a defender as well. You can work.
How would you summarise Statham, Paul? How would you, for those younger fans, how would you summarise him? Well, you put it nicely with Carl Walker.
I think you spot on there. Spot on.
You think so, Marv? Yeah.
Spot on. You need to bomb forward.
Yeah.
Quick.
So very quick. Very quick and strong. Almost now he could play as a centre back. If Brian was around now in the modern game, especially in a free, you'd have him as centre back. He was no nonsense as well. So like he come from Tottenham, and sometimes you might think at the time he's come from Tottenham, it'd be all about skill. But Stafe could really put his foot in, and at the time that's what you had to do. I know you can't do that now as much, but that was a big part of the game back then. And I know he just brought quality. Coming from somewhere like Tottenham to Brentford was great for us. When we saw him come in and saw him train, his athleticism, but also, you know, he was always smiling, Stafe, always smiling. He was someone that, you know, he would tell you in no uncertain terms if you weren't doing it, he would, you know, you'd get roasted by Stafe, but again, if you did well, we would tell you. So he had a lot of pluses. I don't actually remember where he went from Brentford.
No, I don't.
Ask Rothmans in the.
You don't know this one. He might have gone to Gillingham. I don't know. I think, but he could have done. He had business interests as well.
I'd be interested. I mean, interesting to know. I don't want to say any other names, but interesting to know the rest of your back four in a minute because there is some. I think, in my opinion, that's why I probably wasn't a minute. Some decent players who I think He could have played at right back, but he might
Go on,
have played him
who have
somewhere
I
else.
missed? Who have I
No,
missed then?
because you
might
you're
put
not
him at
missing
centre back.
anyone,
I agree with
but I'm
Mark.
not
There's
saying
one in
you might have
particular
said-
in my head that I thought you would have put in there.
There you go. See, so he might have moved in though. Let's just move along. Come on, well done.
All right,
Let's move
so
on.
we'll
He
go
might-
left back. We'll go left back first of all.
Okay.
Now he's
So
second guessing himself.
this you know, Andrew, is it? You get a go now first, yeah.
No, we're both doing it. We're both doing it. We're both doing
Any,
it at the same
just
time.
jump in. It's pot
Just jump
luck.
in, go on.
It's pot luck. All right. This player also played for Tottenham. Played a load of games for Spurs.
Was he an international?
Was a smaller player. He was an international. He could play either left back or right back. He's turned out to be a first-class manager as well.
I'll let Andrew go on with this.
He's going to let you go, Andrew. All right, I'll say a bit more.
Don't give him too many clues. Don't give him too many clues.
Oh, hang on a minute.
He's the
he-
manager of Nottingham Forest, Andrew.
That's exactly what I was. Do you know what? I was getting there. Chris Houghton.
See?
Yes, I was getting there. I was
Yes.
just trying to remember his name.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, Chris Houghton.
I think he's underrated as a player. A lot, and really underrated as a player. I don't think people remember him fondly as they do other players.
But
Maybe
not
it's
being
just-
horrible. He must have been pushing on a bit when you played with him, Bucks.
He was Marv, and but talk about look after yourself. I mean, it's another thing when you're a young player. I mean, I was in the first team at Brentford at the time as a young player, and you see the level of professionalism that Chris brought. And he used to pick me up from Mill Hill, so we shared a car, and he was just class, and everything was football with him. Everything was talking about the game. You know, on the way in, he was serious. He brought a serious element to it, and I think when you see somebody like that that stayed at the top as long as he did, you can learn so much as a young player. And you know, he used his head when maybe when the legs had slowed down a bit when he came to Brentford. You could see his brain, the way he spoke to people. So he is a top person. He really is. He's someone as well. Over the years, has always picked the phone up, Marv. You know, like when you're a manager, you're trying to sign a player and you want to have a chat. Always calls you back. Class act. I can't speak highly enough of Chris Houghton.
Oh, that's good.
And he's pushed the success into management. And I was actually reading an article the other day that everywhere he's been in a championship in the first season, he's got to meet at least the playoffs.
Really?
Which is an amazing stat.
Good.
So the Forest fans are hopeful. But you said success and he looked like a winner anyway. But management, you said he had his head. Did you see him go into management, or did you think he was going to go into coaching or punditry? Or
he was certainly interested in the coaching, and he was one of those players that on the field, and Marvel have played with loads of them, that just didn't stop talking the whole game. You know, information to the people in front of him, information into the midfield, feedback the whole time, well done. Just at the time, you could see he was going to be a coach. I don't think I was thinking along the lines of who would be a manager or a coach at that time. I was too busy trying to survive and stay in the first team as a young player with a lot of these really, really top players around, you know. And that Brentford team, obviously as well, before that, it was hard to improve it. It was one that had, we'd won promotion to the Championship. Me and Marv were having a look today, actually, about how many times I played against Marv. And when you look at the names and the players, it was such a good side, such a good team. But yeah, the bit of, in terms of experience, I understand that now. You know, what experience can bring, it can settle down the younger players for sure. And Chris did that.
yeah, and is that what you try to look for then in a squad and a team? Is a mixture of a couple of old heads or older, you know what I mean, and with obviously the youngsters, and they provide not only the legs, the youngsters, but the older ones also then provide a bit of knowledge, a bit of know-how, a bit of calm.
Yeah, absolutely. The calm bit's there, because if you're in a team or you're managing a team that's going for promotion, which I've done, you do need them calm heads. You need people in there like Pilks, who was at Luton, you know, in the first season there. Some like Pilks and yeah, you need people in there that can calm it down and assure the younger players that we're good enough to do it.
Yeah, no, definitely. Moving on to centre backs. Wherever you want to go, which you decide.
All right. Okay. So this guy is a manager now. He's currently managing a big club, a former Premier League club. He was a younger player when I played with him, but again, someone that I knew would always go to the top. Absolutely top person, real top person. I played with him at the second club I was at, or third club. So I was on loan from Brentford, and then went on. So,
well, that threw my guess because I was guessing a different centre back.
And there's a number of centre backs.
You might say the other one.
I'm going to go Darren Moore.
Yeah, you got it.
Ah!
Well done.
Marvin.
No, I didn't get that.
Darren
You didn't
Moore.
get it? Did you not know I played with him?
Yeah, Torquay, wasn't he?
Torquay. He was 18.
Yeah.
Yeah, Torquay. I know. I knew. I mean, I forgot about him, to be honest. I forgot about him. He wasn't on my radar.
Big Darren Moore.
Big Darren, yeah.
From what I hear, one of the nicest, most well-spoken managers in football right now. Where is he now? Was he at Doncaster?
Sheffield Wednesday.
Oh, that's
Sheffield
right.
Wednesday
Yeah.
now.
Was he at Doncaster? Did I imagine that?
Yeah. He went to he got a move to Doncaster, I think, from Torquay at the time when Doncaster had a decent budget and stuff, and they were going for it a little bit.
Yeah.
But the reason I went for Darren, I've played with, and I've got one left, but I've played with loads of really good centre halves, which I'll mention after. And they've all got different strengths and characteristics. But the one thing with Darren was, and especially being in League Two, and we got to the playoffs. We got beat by Preston, actually, and Daz won't mind me saying it because I'm telling everyone what a great leader he was at such a young age and a great person. But he cost us on that night at Deepdale. He got sent off. He let Rayner. We were 2-0 up from the first leg, and Don O'Riordan, who was a great player manager, said, "Look, the one thing we can't do is get sucked in with any antics. They're going to try and wind us up." It was when it was the last ever game on AstroTurf up at Deepdale, and John Beck was the manager. I don't know if you've come up against him a few times.
Cambridge, wasn't he? He was at Cambridge, wasn't he?
John Beck, and I'm not here being a purist. It's about winning, of course, but they boomed it in the corners behind you. They got up behind it. We went out for the warm up that night, and it was full up already. And you go out and think, here we go. And the one thing we had to do was survive that first half. And we went 1-0 down. We then come back 1-1, so 3-1 up on aggregate, and we're cruising. And then Rayner said something or did something with Daz, and Daz sort of like pushed out, and the ref, under the pressure of the fans, gave him the red card. So it was a killer. It was a killer on the night, and I think he would have learned from that, the big man. But what that doesn't surprise me, Andrew, what he said about him as a manager now, because he was like that. I remember him living with a family, Daz, and I remember, because when you moved to Devon, you sort of, it's Lockstock, you moved down there, and a lot of us were in digs, a lot of us lived in the Goals Lodge, and he lived with a family, Daz, and he was so respectful, which is massive, obviously all the time, but let alone when you're a youngster coming through. But yeah, playing in a position where, and Marv will know this as a young player, if you see a young player playing at centre back, you're going to target him, aren't you? Closer to the goal. But Darren was like a brick wall.
Was he a big boy back then as well?
Oh, massive! I couldn't believe he was 18 when I turned up there. 18, he's absolute beast, and he was so laid back. You'd never see Moro flustered or anything, and went on to have a brilliant career. Yeah, and now he's doing well in management.
Yeah, West Brom legend.
But I just want to touch on which, I mean, obviously a lot of Luton people know that you've managed a club, but I don't think too many would know that you actually came to Luton on trial and obviously had a time where it was a case where you wanted and you loved Luton, and you wanted to play for Luton? Could you just tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, I didn't actually get a chance to come on trial. I mean, again, you would notice, and all the ex-players and players and managers would notice that when you're around about 13, back in the day when I was 13, the scouts were everywhere watching, and it was Ron Howard. Is that right, Marv?
Ron Howard, yeah, Ron Howard. Shine on Harvey Moon was his nickname.
Fantastic, absolute gentleman. He, I was a good player, obviously, at that time as a youngster and playing in the district team of county and then K Division of England, all them things. And he was always there, and he was always going up to me dad saying, you know, Paul's a Luton player, because I was small and I could play. And I ended up, there's no disrespect to Watford, but I ended up going to Watford, which I should never, I know, I'll drop your head. I should never have done it. There are no regrets, but I shouldn't have done it. I mean, it was back in the time where they were back to front, no two ways about it. And I now remember playing in one game when Graham Taylor come to watch to see, like, you know, who's going to be an apprentice and that type of thing. I never touched the ball. I did not touch the ball. It just went and went and went. And Ron Howard, like, you know, he was convinced. He must have asked 10 times for me to come to Luton, and we didn't. Watford got me on the schoolboy forms, and that was it. I was there with Tom Wally, and it was a different way, Marv. It's a totally different culture. Because I knew people that was players that were at Luton, and I saw the players that come out of Luton as well, by the way, you know, which we can talk about later. I saw some great technical players that come out, and I don't think at the time that was the way it was at Watford. It was a wrong choice for me, and I do wish I'd have listened to Ron. I mean, did you say you did an apprenticeship at Brentford? Is that what? Yeah, I didn't get taken on in the end at Watford. You know, you look back on the schoolboy forms, you're signing them. Should never be signing the schoolboy forms because they don't guarantee you nothing back in the day. But yeah, I ended up at Brentford. I mean, I was actually a junior hatter. I was inspired by Paul Price, the old centre back, many moons ago. Come and give out the medals, because obviously I was born in Wellington City, not far away, and I think that's where Price lived. And he come out and gave the medals out one evening at the club that I played at. So I become sucked in then and become a junior hatter. I watched a lot of games. When my dad took me a lot to go and watch Luton.
But who was it though who spotted you for Brentford to get you to come to Brentford and get you initially to sign on?
Steve Perriman rang up.
Okay.
Steve Perriman had just taken the job. I think Steve was 36, 37, and he'd just left Tottenham, and it was his first managerial job. And I think it was the first time that Brentford were going to have apprentices. And it was a blessing, really, Mark, because he gave me my debut at 16. And I think in the end, about 8 of us got in the first team. It was absolutely fantastic. 8 of us made our debuts, got in there, and went on to have careers. And there's no way we could have done it if we hadn't been under the stewardship of Steve, and then it was Phil Older, Colin Lee. And because they treated us, it's like, you know, you had 2 years to make it, and we did everything. We absolutely did everything on and off the field. We had no time off the field, really. We were playing in the resis at 16, you know, alongside playing in the southeastern counties, and them interactions with them senior players was, oh my God, you can't put a price on it. That's why I'm an advocate of it now. You know, I'm an advocate of the younger players being in and around the first team players, because it just fast tracks them as to what's needed. So we were lucky. Steve was massive on youth. He was huge on, you know, he got given a chance at Spurs, you know, built by Bill Nick, and he brought that in where he made us fearless. He made us believe that we could make it. So I can't speak highly enough of the staff there at Brentford.
Yeah, definitely. So next centre back, next to Darren Moore. Again, I've put this player ahead of players that have played higher level than this player, but I won with him. I got promoted with him, and he's another former Luton player. Probably should have played more games at Luton, certainly in his opinion.
And
I'd agree with that. I would agree with that.
On a serious note, he'd talk about it a lot. This player was really conscientious. Would talk about. I think he was gutted when he left Luton.
Did he go down? I think I know who it is. Did he go down a league to join?
He did, I think, Andrew. Yeah, he was at the club when I arrived. I think he was at the club when I arrived. Or did we sign him? He might have been on loan, and then we signed him. I think we both arrived there at the same time. But I think what he did when he, if he'll mind me saying it, he didn't quite fulfil his potential at Luton, but he certainly did at the club that he arrived at with me, and he became a brilliant leader and a great friend.
Which is Colchester?
Yes.
No. I think. Do you know what? I'm second guessing myself. I'm just going to say, Paul. What's his surname? Yeah, black hair, didn't he?
Yeah, black hair. He went to Cardiff. Cardiff came in for.
Oh, not Paul. David Green.
Yes.
David Green. Green. How many games did he play for Luton, Marv?
I don't know. But just to carry on to what you've just said there, I want to say, look, Greeny, like technically was like decent, more than decent in my opinion, better than what people gave him credit for. And the one game which I really remember when he played, I think it might have even been his debut. He played in the league or a cup game at West Ham, right? And he split his head open. They bandaged him up, and he went back out. And I thought, do you know what? Clopsy, I mean, we call him, his name was Clopsy, his nickname was, but I thought, Greeny, that game was the making of you. But for some reason, I don't know what it was. I mean, it'd be interesting to speak to him about it. He didn't kick on from that, because I thought he was excellent at that game. I mean, as a centre-half, young kid at Upton Park, right, the chicken and all that, it's a difficult place to play. And he did really well. I thought he was man of the match in that game. Can't remember what game it was now. But yeah, it's weird.
He held the record for the most under-21 caps, I think, in the Republic of Ireland. He did do at the time. He did do at the time. But he, again, I keep saying back in the day, because it was a long time ago, he was in the car school with us, with Embo and that, and we'd have some right laughs, There wasn't much time for sentiment back then, but if ever like I was with him, we could have some deep conversations if it's just me and Dave. Like he'd talk about Luton, he'd grind on him. And even when I was when I was manager at Luton, like Greeny come with his boy, like come to one of the games and come into the office and stuff, and he would talk about it, so I'd listen because it meant a lot to him. The club meant an awful lot to him. And Marv's right, he had a right foot, a left foot. I chose him because obviously when you win with someone as well, and you play that many games, you get to know them. And I respected that he hadn't quite made it at Luton, as a rule, to be an established player, and then to pick himself up and come and fight. And he was like every game he was like on it, and he could score goals. I think one season, maybe the season we went up, he got 8 goals. He was lethal from corners. He used to say, so Wiggy, who was the gaffer, we'd spend Fridays on the corners like you do, and Wiggy's like, we want this run round the back, you check, block, Bucks deliver it, into the space on the near. And then Greeny would just walk by me and go, look, don't listen to that. Just watch me. I'm going to walk away 3 yards, and when I turn, just deliver it. And I'm like, don't let me down, Greeny. And he would just arrive. Like I knew I just had to keep it away from the keeper, and he would come and arrive, and he could head a ball. The one thing,
yeah, he could, yeah.
And then you would know them coaches at Luton, Marv. They really develop players. Them coaches at Luton for years. It's like a conveyor belt coming out of there. The competencies in right foot, left foot, and heading it. And because I asked a few of the Luton players, like, you can ping it with your right. You can ping it with your left. You're talking about 30, 40-yard ball. And they used to do, I don't know if you were part of it. They used to do a thing at Luton where they would balance. You'd stand on your right foot and you would kick through like bricks.
Yes.
I don't know if I'm explaining it right, Marv, but basically,
no, you are.
It was to do with your standing leg, and it was like religion. They'd do it and do it. And if you obviously missed through hitting the ball or whatever they were going at, you kick the brick. You soon learn. Yeah, it was a brick, was it? Yeah.
Yeah.
But the players, honestly, it mentioned unbelievable, both feet. You know, that's proper development.
Yeah, definitely. Especially these days, there's still players playing in the England squad and internationals that you'd say that one of their legs is a standing leg.
Yeah. No, this was like unbelievable. And I played with several ex-Luton players, and they're all the same that have come through the system.
Oh, accolades. So we'll move. Well, what we'll do is we'll let you. Did you want to give some honourable mentions before we head into a break, Paul?
Can I just throw in there a couple of names? I'm not saying that obviously it's your 11. I'm not saying that they should have got in there. He was a decent centre half. Is it Jamie Bates? He was quite a tough. But he was a tough.
Batesy was, and there was a time at Brentford where we had all 6 footers at the back, because we used to hit the front and join a bit, you know, second balls and that. But no, Batesy was. Yeah, you're right. He done really well. I mean, I said I've played with a load of good centre backs, Marv. You know, Terry Evans. You know, back in the day when it was about heading it. You know, getting the midfield off your gum and head it, do the basics. Terry, Keith Millen was a top player.
I was going to say,
of course, but he would know that. And
what about that? I think another young lad. Well, he was a youngish lad. I remember playing. He used to bomb on for fun. Hutchins,
Carl Hutchins. Actually, yeah.
Yes.
I didn't really play much with Hutchie.
Okay.
But I tell you what, that's a blast from the past with Hutch. He was, and again, Carl, if you watch this, you won't mind me saying it. He was limited, actually, right, in terms of ability. But I tell you what, work ethic, incredible.
That's what I remember about. I thought
incredible.
Because he just get forward a lot, and I thought he used to cause us problems a lot. Does he have dreadlocks today or something?
Dave Webb, he did. Dave Webb. So when there was the big change, like I was there probably 6 or 7 years, and then when Phil Older left, Dave Webb come in, and things change as they do, right? Different era, and actually you give Hutchie a chance, and because Hutchie was like 6 foot, good in the air. You know, there's a guy called Joe Gadsden who was the youth coach, another good coach. And I'm not saying that Hutch weren't, you know, quality player. Do you get me? It's a fair comment, I think, but his work ethic every day, Marv, first out, last in. Was always going to be a player. And when he got on the field, I think he knew how to be successful. I think he knew his strengths, and he had an incredible engine, which again got you quite away back then.
Yeah. Excellent. So what we can do is we're going to pause for a short break, and then when we come back, we'll have Marv's quickfire 60 seconds.
Add some art to your Adidas. From your favourite football team to the bands you've always loved. Some things are meant to be celebrated. Share your passion with the world and stand out from the crowd with custom-designed Adidas trainers by Dazzler's Craft. Choose from one of the most popular costume designs or create your own look and use the bespoke design service. dazzlerscraft.co.uk. Adding art to your Adidas.
Welcome back for part 2 of My Best 11 with Paul Buckle. We're going to start off, as ever, with Marv's 60 seconds. So Marv's got 60 seconds to ask as many questions as you can. Paul, just go through whatever answer comes into your head. Not thinking time, just quick fire as quick as you can. So when you're ready, Marv.
You ready?
Yes, go for it, Marvellous.
All right. Best ground you have played at? Best ground you have played at?
Wembley.
Messi or Ronaldo?
Messi.
VAR or no VAR?
VAR.
Favourite other sport apart from football?
Tennis.
Bundesliga, La Liga or Serie A?
La Liga.
If you wasn't a footballer, what would you have done?
What a question. Probably landscape gardening.
Best player you have ever seen live with your own eyes? Live. Been to the game and seen.
Paul Gascoigne.
Okay. Pele or Maradona?
Oh, can't believe I'm going to say it. Maradona.
And last one, Marv.
Okay. If you could have chosen any club in the world to play for, team-wise, which team would that be? Any team in the world.
Arsenal.
Interesting. A Gooner at heart. Welling Garden City.
Yes. There you go.
Straight down the line to
your
Finsbury Park.
That's
Yep.
it, Andrew. Yeah, I got it.
Fantastic. So that was Marv's 60 seconds. You can listen into that and you can probably get an idea of the type of person, the type of manager, the type of player that you were. Before we go into your the rest of your team, you were manager at a number of clubs. Just talk us through why you went into management. What made you want to go into it?
I actually had no intention of going into management. I was more interested in developing players. So my journey very quickly was I come out of professional football really around about 32, and then went to Aldershot, where I got offered a 3-year contract. So I went there, and it was obviously Tuesday night, Thursday night training, which allowed me then to start acclimating into coaching. So a good friend of mine, a mentor, said, Paul, don't go straight into the academy. And so right, he said, get used to working with numbers, maybe work in schools for free and different stuff. So that's what I did. I went and worked in Devon at underprivileged school. I worked with special needs children. I've done things like tag rugby, netball, everything. I did everything where his look was that, I could make mistakes. I could make mistakes with numbers. Kids, wouldn't see that. So you couldn't do that at a professional level. So that's what I did. I loved it. I really enjoyed at the best times working with those groups. I'll never forget the joy on the kids' faces, especially the special needs children down in Dawlish, where made their day, absolutely made their day, and it really put a perspective on things for me. I then went with the U10s at Exeter. My training then was all the way through the Exeter Academy. So I did every age group through there. Then I got a break where Julian Tagg asked me if I would coach the 18s, which I did. And then Alex Inglethorpe came in as the head coach and wanted me then to assist him, which I was reluctant. I turned that down. So that was the first part of me saying I don't really want to be in, the top end in professional football, because I was enjoying the development of it. And really and truthfully, I was enjoying doing that and then letting the lads go, get them through into the first team. And because I felt I knew what they needed. So, but in the end, Alex, he persuaded me. I had a great year with him, learned loads, a brilliant cup run with him, where we went to Old Trafford, and
yes, I remember that. Yeah,
that saved Exeter in many ways. The money that was made. Then Alex, he actually got an offer to go to a big club from there, which he turned down, and he ended up going to Spurs, where he's done brilliant, and now obviously Liverpool. And then I was working with Paul Tisdale for a year, completely different manager. I learned so much from their managers, and Steve Perriman, who was there as director of football, being in the office every day, seeing how they interacted with players. And it was a class club. They're class people. They did it right. I learned so much from them. And I was player assisting again. I'd gone back to playing for them, as well as assisting, taking sessions, started to do my badges. And then at the end of that season, where we got beat in the playoff final by Morecambe, Tiz was just going on holiday, and I got a knock at the door from Colin Lee, who offered me the Torquay job, who had just been relegated out of the Football League for the first time in their history. And it weren't for me, but I don't know. I just, in the end, I took it. It wasn't like I didn't have this great thing where I've got to be a manager. That wasn't what it was. But I suppose I'd done enough in those years, and Colin thought that I could do the job. I knew the league, you see, as well. So I knew the league very well, which is important. And I took it on. I went and took the job. So that was, yeah. And I suppose it would have kept me away from messing up people's lawns and being that landscape gardener as well.
That's really, really interesting that it's, and I think that's a message to obviously ex-pros, but also the general public as well, that if you may not necessarily definitely kind of know where you're going. It's about the journey as much as the end goal, because once you get to the end, it could change, but it's the journey in itself that you grow as much from. That's what you said about working in Dawlish and places like that. So that's really, really interesting, Paul.
Yeah, just to build on that, one of the things I was always taught is like, just, in football, you never know when your chance is going to come. Marv would have heard that. You've just got to keep working and doing the right things. And that's what I've always tried to do. And opportunities have come off the back of that. I've never really searched them out, if you like. But if you keep working really hard and you try to be an expert in your field and do your best you can, especially when I was an assistant, it can be noticed. So that's why now, when I've worked with assistants and I've worked with coaches, I'm always quick to make sure I get them in the limelight as well, because your staff do a great job behind the scenes for you as a manager.
No, definitely. So far, we get back to the best 11. So far, we've got Carl Emerson, Brian Statham, Chris Hooton, Darren Moore, and David Green. So Paul's playing 4-4-2. So you just let us know where you're going to start. Centre midfield, wings.
Let's start in the middle, because it's important in a 4-4-2 to get this right. So I'm going for one that's going to sit in a bit more and serve the ball and play behind it, and I'm going to go for one that's going to get on and get me some goals. So the first one is the holding midfielder. Great leader, was a captain in the teams that I played in. Ex-Chelsea before he come and played with me.
I was going to say that was going to be my next clue. I said, did he play at Chelsea? I think I know who it is then.
Which club did you play with?
He played with me. He played with me at Brentford, and he was captain. And I tell you what, he's in America now. Actually, he's working over here. He never gave me a minute's peace. He's bollocking me every 2 minutes. I couldn't do anything right with him. He used to slaughter me. He used to slaughter me. He got the best out of me. He was in my ear the whole time. But he did.
I'm trying to give Andrew another clue. Did he play for Charlton as well?
Yes.
Yeah, I thought he did.
After Brentford. He's a bit of an unsung hero.
Yeah, he is.
Someone that went under the radar. But I tell you what, he made us tick.
No, I'm not going to get it. Go on.
Keith Jones.
Oh, the absolute anorak. Keith Jones. Chelsea fans, diehard Chelsea would remember.
Yeah, they're known. Chelsea. I remember Charlton. I remember him at Charlton as well. After Brentford, was it?
But you said he was He was the holder. I wouldn't say defensive midfielder, but he was the holder.
Yeah, Jonesy was the holding midfielder. He always showed for the ball. It didn't matter. It didn't matter if he'd given the last 2 or 3 away, which he wouldn't, because he was that good on the ball. He would just serve that ball from A to B, over 10, 15 yards, always come behind the ball. He used to slaughter me if I got any space. He was the first one that really taught me about spacing. He'd tell me in no uncertain terms of throw-ins. He'd look at a corner of his eye, what the F out of the way of it, get out of my way. He was a real leader and great captain, never happy, never ever happy. Didn't like the youth team either. He'd laugh if he hears that. We were like, oh, no.
Is it fair to say that he put his foot in as well?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he put his foot in as well, yeah.
Because the youth team, we had to put our foot in, you see. And whenever we was always overtraining with the first team. And of course, Jonesy was the one would just look at you as if to say, what are you doing here? And if he was in his team, he's almost like looked at, in a professional way.
Yeah.
You better do it. You better be ready. And one day, one of the lads caught him, Jason Cousins, who could easily have got in this team as well. Cousins, who liked to tackle Jace, he caught him in training one day, and it went off badly. And he sort of carried on, but yeah, Jonesy kept looking at him forever after that. You know, he absolutely trained like he played, Jonah. High levels, Marv. You'd have played with players like that, just unrelenting.
Yeah. Demanding.
Yeah, demanding, and you know, but a great person, a person I respect an awful lot.
Fantastic. So next to Keith is
completely different. Completely different to Keith. No, he's not a creator in my mind. No.
Oh, okay. So I mean,
he gets goals.
Was he at Charlton?
You're a funny lad, Marvin. Yeah.
Was he? I don't know.
Who did you say? I thought you said, was it Jack Charlton?
No, I said, was he? No.
Is there that much of an age gap between you two?
What was he at Charlton as well?
At Charlton?
This player took
this new player.
No, he's not. He wasn't.
No, I don't think so.
Oh, okay. This player, I thought he was a good player. He got goals as well. All right, go on.
I know you think it is. I know you think it is. I didn't play with him. I took his place.
Mark Kinsella?
Yeah, they got rid of Mark and got me.
Oh, right. Okay. Well,
I was waiting for Mark to go, so then I would.
Perfect. You cleared that one. I thought you played with him. Sorry.
Is that your guest then? Are you gone?
That was my guest. Yeah. No, I'm not done yet.
He's a brilliant player. He's a brilliant player, Sheedy. His nickname is Sheedy.
Go on, carry on.
Keep going then. Centre midfield.
Right. So I can give you as many clues now then. Yeah, Andrew?
Was that Ipswich? Was that Ipswich?
No.
Oh, that's who I was thinking.
He was a manager. He got promoted with one of the Bristol clubs. He absolutely maximised his potential as a player. He was out in the mornings doing extra.
Was he an international?
Was in the box every single time the ball was crossed. Yeah, I think he was. I think he was. He certainly worked with the international team as a coach
for Wales.
He played for Fulham at the top level. Done a brilliant job at Fulham, and he played in midfield with me at Torquay.
Oh.
We've spoken about a manager on that's in my back four that he's assisted a lot, and is assisting him now.
No, there's only two names that come to my head, and one is Coppinger.
I did play with Cops. He's a brilliant player, by the way.
Yeah, and he was at Bristol, I think. Was it? No, he was at Doncaster, wasn't
he? Yeah, Exeter, Doncaster. Yeah.
Yeah. The only other one go on.
Sorry, I was going to say, did you say he got goals, correct?
Oh, he scored goals, yeah. He scored goals at Torquay for fun, but I think he played a bit more defensive when he went to Fulham and Derby.
Oh, that's thrown me now. I was going to say Ampadu, but
no, not Kwame. I played for Kwame. Was more defensive.
I mean, I know it's not these two because I was thinking of like Dizelle. Did you play with Dizelle?
Yes, great player.
Oh, and then the other one I could think of was the
Williams
guy, midfielder Williams.
Durant Williams. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it weren't.
I know it weren't then because he went on Torquay. I know.
Nah, I played with him. Great players as well. But this player again, I have just so much respect for players that maximise their potential, through hard work. And he done this. He went on loan to Derby, and Sturridge come the other way, who was top striker.
You've done us anyway. Go on. You have to
go on.
You've done
Who you got?
Go on.
Paul Trollope.
Oh, wow! I should have got that. Shoot.
Have a look at his career.
No, listen, I know who you straight away. I know exactly.
He's assisted Chrissy as well everywhere. Troll.
Fantastic player. Yeah, he's a great player. Fantastic player.
Marv, you're gutted, Marv, aren't you? Gutted.
I am. I should have got that.
That's a doable name. There's some names that aren't doable. That's a doable name. That's really annoying. Paul, so he was the goal machine, was he, in that team?
He was. We played three midfield. There was Don, the manager that sat. He pinged it around. I suppose I'd done a lot of the doggy work in that team and kept it simple. And Troll just bombed on. He bombed on and he got beyond the strikers. But I remember, like, he was always in the box. Anytime the ball was crossed, that was his. And I tell you, that's a really simple thing, Marv, but that's a great message to a midfielder if you want to, you know, create goals and score goals. Get in there.
Yeah, would you say so? Probably similar, just down the league a little bit, to a David Platt, maybe.
It's like Platt. It's like, you know, Lampard was unbelievable at it. I played against him a few times, and he was unreal. His timing and that. The trial was simple. I mean, he was just literally we were getting crosses in the box, and he would just be in there. He would arrive, and he could get back as well. So he was really fit. So again, you know, he was able to do it and not sort of, I wouldn't say cheap, but sort of like be a luxury.
Right.
Yeah. So if you said that Trott was obviously in central midfield, where was your favourite position to play yourself then? Where did you love to play? Was it on the wing or was it in the centre?
Well, yeah, me and Mark spoke. Sorry, you mean where did I like to play?
Yeah.
Yeah. I again, when you're a young player, you play where you're told to play. So when I was trying to break in the team at Brentford, it was 4-4-2. We had really good wingers and strikers, and my job was just to serve the ball. I actually wasn't allowed to go beyond the ball. And I was saying this to Marv, in the youth team in the Resis, I scored goals. I scored goals as a young player, and I thought I could score goals, definitely. But that wasn't the job. They didn't want that. And if I didn't do it, you wouldn't play. So I had to stay behind the ball for a number of games at Brentford. That's what I did. I think managers then, you get an opportunity when you leave a club. You get an opportunity to say, this is what I'm good at, or, you know. And I think I did that in my career. I took a lot more risks then. You know, when I went to Colchester, I started to get a few more, and then all the other clubs, you know, make the box a bit more and take more risk. And the one thing I could do as a player was run. So I knew I could get back. I also knew, I learned quickly, if I went, then my man had to stay with me. And if he didn't, then you know, it's really dangerous. If you can be a midfielder arriving in the box, Marv would know that. That's dangerous, you know, if you can come in there for the cutback. So I like to create goals and score goals.
Do you like to play in the old-fashioned kind of number 8? Is that your favourite?
Yes. Yeah, that would have been perfect. Yeah.
Fantastic. So next to, or on the wings, we've got Keith Jones in the middle.
On the wings now, yeah.
Up in the middle.
Which side, left or right?
Well, I think the left side, and we can mention a few after, might be a bit of a no-brainer. This is someone that I served my apprenticeship with at Brentford, who went on to be an international player and play a number of games in the Premier League.
I think I got it. Would he play as a centre forward as well sometimes?
Yes.
Where did he go to?
Wimbledon.
He got bought on deadline day to go to Wimbledon. I think Joe Kinnear the manager then.
He probably could have been, yeah.
About that time.
Did he play? Do you know what? I'm going to say Marcus Gale.
You got it, Andrew.
Yeah. You know, I'm going to know him whether or not he was a. Yeah, I suppose he could play on the wing, couldn't he, as well? Yeah.
Yeah.
He's the left winger by trade.
Yeah.
Did he not start there, Bucks? That was his position, wasn't it?
100%.
Yeah.
Gailey was left winger. He again. How would you describe Marcus? He's a great friend. It's an
athlete powerhouse, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Not as a kid, he couldn't run.
Could he not? I didn't know that.
Marv, as a kid, he'll be laughing if he listens to this. You just see Gailey like he go. You know, we used to run at Brentford. I mean, as a kids, Colin Lee run us. Whether it was 12-minute runs, whether it was 8-mile runs at Richmond Park, or he loved the 60-second lap. Colin Lee loved the 60-second lap, Marv. And you go, and he would, like, you know, you'd go like shoulder to shoulder racing. And then if he thought you were getting comfortable, it'd be one go one way, one go the other. But all you could see was Gailey. His head had dropped down, you know. Oh, not again. And we would, you know, there was no room for feeling sorry for anyone. You know, it was a little bit dog eat dog at the time as an apprentice, but he couldn't run. I really felt for him. I was like, Gailey, come on. You know, you'd be lapping him. You wouldn't want to lap him in the 12th minute. I mean, you'd be lapping him after a few laps, Marv, not like on the 7th or 8th. You just see the big man, like his head down, and he's struggling massively. And me and Robbie Peters, like, and we'd come tearing round and just go by him, and he'd say, just go. He couldn't run for about a year. He really struggled. And
interesting.
What they persisted with him. They saw in him there was something there, and he became unbelievable. I mean, he was unplayable. I mean, he could beat you and cross it. He could get it outside of his left foot and whip it round. You could hit him on diagonals, which was a big part of our style of play back then. And he got in the first team. He was the first one that you saw him go in the first team, and he could handle it. You know, when he got in there, I think out of all of us, a lot of us, you know, you were fighting to keep your place. Gailey went in there and he made an impact. And he said, you know, I can handle this. And then he grew into his body. I think at the time, you know, he was still growing. I mean, we know a lot more about waiting for players, don't we, now? Yeah. And, but yeah, once everything clicked, he became an absolute force, Marcus. Top player.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Definitely. And got his just rewards with a move to Wimbledon.
He did. And Rangers.
Yeah.
Oh, of course. Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And then was it Charlton as well? Or am I imagining that?
I don't know if it's
I don't know. I think. I don't know. But he had a rocket left foot.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did.
You must have played against him.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
And full. And great to see like a former colleague as apprentices. Apprenticeships is the best time of your life. Yeah. It is the absolute, you know, you're trying to make a play, you're trying to make it. To see him go and do what he's done just makes us all so proud of him.
Oh, fantastic. And on the other wing, so Gailey's on the left, sorry. And who's on the right?
I'm going with someone that's really direct and who became a Scottish international. Hardest working player I've ever seen in my entire life, I've ever worked with, that I've ever been around. And I played with this player and I worked with him. And one of the nicest people you'll ever meet, but I've never ever seen work ethic like it on the training field.
Yeah. Was he Scottish?
He said Scottish, yeah. He said Scottish, didn't he?
Scottish international.
Yeah. Did he play for Reading as well?
No. He went on loan to Reading.
Oh.
Yeah, that's
although he might. It's a good question. I'm sorry. He definitely played for Reading. Yes, he did.
Go on, Andrew.
He's more renowned for being a striker.
Oh, no. Oh,
I know he can play on the right.
I was going to go Jamie Mackey.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got it.
Oh, is it? I thought it was a right. I always thought he was a right winger. Yeah, Jamie Mackey then.
No, got it. No, Mackey's a striker by trade.
Yeah.
Yep.
And a very good one.
Yes. I thought he played a long while at Reading.
I'm
was he not
sure.
QPR as well, wasn't he? QPR was he?
He's a legend at QPR.
Oh, do you know what? That's what it is. And I'm just forgetting. I'm getting the hoops confused.
Yeah.
Yeah, he went. I think he did go to Reading. He went to Forest, didn't he? He got a move from QPR. His story again. I can remember with Mackey. I mean, he couldn't even get on the bench in a conference. No one, all the clubs had said no. I think he was at MK Dons and he'd been around a little, and he couldn't get a game. And again, being Exeter sometimes and Torquay, you take them players, and that and I played a part like we all do as coaches in his development, but he would never let me go in. It could be raining, and in the end, it's like sometimes. I mean, I like staying out and working hard, but I'd like go to creep in, and he'd just go like, Bucks. He'd be like, come on. He wanted to work, and he was unrelenting in his pursuit. I said to him, Jay, you should go round to all the clubs and because he is the ultimate of maximising your potential. Because if you'd have said to me, I watched him come on, he treated me and my eldest boy Johnny to go and watch his debut, or he's going to be sub against Spain. I couldn't believe my eyes, Marv. We sat up and he was warming up and he was looking at the bench and in his second half, and he kept looking up and he's going like this. And anyone that knows Mackie, he was going like this. He's going, "Oh, Jamie," you're like, he's as if to say, "Is he going to put me on? Is he going to put me on?" And then he would go back and he'd sit and he's like looking at the next, and I think 60-odd minute they put him on. First thing he done, ball in the channel, Puyol, just ragdolled him. Absolutely, like, and that had come from, I'm talking about a story. One morning I'm in the coffee shop really early in Shaldon, this little place just before Exeter, and the car goes by and hoots the horn. So I look out the window and it's Mackie on his own, and there was a few of them living in the house, Danny Seaborn, Sawyer, Paul Jones, and it was rare to see one of them in the car on their own because, you know, they got no money, so they carpool in. And I go, "Come on, come in, have a drink." He's like, "No." He goes like this. He goes, "No, he can't afford it. He can't afford to have a coffee. He can now." He goes, "Where are you going?" He goes, "To the gym." I said, "Jay, we mean you're going to the gym? It's the hardest day today. It's a Tuesday. We're doing gym work, doing double session, triple sometimes." He said, "No, I still go to the gym." I went back in the coffee shop and I'm like, "Oh my God, like he's obsessed. He's obsessed with being a player." And that was just one part of it. It's unrelated. Knocking on the door and T's like, "Yeah, come in. Why am I playing? You know, in a respectful way. I need to be playing, you know." And when he got in, it was one of them where talk about be ready. When you ask players to be ready, he got in and he absolutely tore it up. He then, when I was the manager of Torquay, because he was living down in, he was living down right by me. So now they've become the enemy because I'm the manager at Torquay and they're all playing for Exeter. And we playing them on New Year's and that, you know, he played the derby games and he tore us apart, Mackie. I couldn't talk to him. I couldn't even look at him. You know, and he didn't think nothing of it. And I told him after, I said, "Jay, be careful in this next game," because I think we had him straight after Boxing Day, New Year's Day. I said, "Your man Mark now, you know." And I think Chrissy Todd caught him really, really late, and we had to do that to stop him. And I got a phone call from Paul Sturrock actually, and he said to me, "Jamie Mackie." I said, "Yes, 100%, Paul." He said, they want this, they want that for him." I said, "All day long. You won't get anyone like him." And it's that same with Neil Warnock rung me when he was at QPR. "What do you think of Mackie?" You know, managers doing their own work. They just went and went and went.
Yeah. And got his just rewards by skinning Puyol in his debut.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah. There you go. Who would have ever thought that?
Fantastic. So, strikers.
Strikers, 2 out-and-out goal scorers. So the two wingers are going to get me goals in Mackie and Gailey. Yeah. Trollope's getting me some goals, bombing on. And these two are definitely getting me goals. The first one
Wimbledon
is what?
Went to Wimbledon as well?
No.
Really?
No.
Okay. All right.
This one played for Luton. He was manager of Millwall for a short spell. And he signed me. I was his captain. And he was player manager.
I think I've got it. You got it, Andrew? I'm going to have a guess. This one was never on my radar, but the one I'm thinking of, this is me being digging deep again.
Oh yeah, I had to dig deep, Mark, with this because I changed.
Did he also play for Cambridge?
He did, and he never used to like wearing shin pads, Andrew.
Yeah,
bit of Jackie Grealish. Go on, Marv.
Oh gosh, it just went out of my head then. Oh, Steve Claridge.
Yeah.
Steve Claridge. I didn't realise you were that old, Paul.
What a player. Steve Claridge should still play now, Andrew. He's the fittest man I've ever met in my life.
If he still played now, he probably would have got all 92 clubs because he played for pretty much about half of them, didn't he?
Yeah.
I have to say,
that man's agent must be a millionaire because he's had so many transfers.
But I have to say, what Bucks has just said there, he when he was at Luton as well, he was unbelievable. Like, we had like your Paul Telfers who can run, like Claridge could just take off and just be going. It's like he's sprinting a long distance, like 6 mile run. He's sprinting it.
Wow.
It's like,
yeah.
What
What type of striker would you say he is then? Because I know, is he a poacher, a pace man, an over-the-top person, a holder-up?
Tell you what, he's deceptively quick. His brain is... So if you look at Steve on the field, you know, he's got no pads. I remember him arguing. So he signed me, like at the end of my career, he signed me at Weymouth, right? So Weymouth had a decent budget. They're looking to go for it. And I went and signed for him. Two things. The first one was I was at Aldershot at the time, so we'd just been promoted with Aldershot out of that league, and he'd come to the game, and at the time a little falling out with Terry Brown, like, so Brownie had put me on the bench. When Claridge had come to watch me, it's all arranged, and I hadn't gone on. He's gone from the top. Marvel know this. He don't care, Steve. He's gone from the top right down, saying, "Are you going to put him on? I've travelled, you know." And what? Like, yeah. So I went on. He took me. I played in the game with him. He's in one of the first games, it was a pre-season game. We've gone out to the middle, and he's waiting there, we're flicking up. And the referee's gone, "Steve, you know, pull the socks up." And he goes, "Shut up," you know. And I'm watching this go on for about 5 minutes. Wouldn't do it. And in the end, the ref backed down. He just would not pull his socks up, or, you know, he didn't have any pads on. And he looked like he was never going to, you know, you're told to look right and have his shirts out. He looked like, you know what I mean, Mark? Like he couldn't have a turn of pace. Like he weren't a professional footballer. But I tell you what, his first touch, and he had this move. Move where, you got it right. So he had this move where he would come in and he'd back in and he'd take it in one way, bumped on. Yeah. And he'd tell you what is, and in answer to your question, he was horrible. He'd get his body in, he'd get fouls. He could finish, I mean, in the box. But the biggest thing why I loved playing with Steve was, and this is not even as a manager, he got the best out of me. I think he was brilliant as a gaffer at getting the best out of you. He'd say to me, "Bucks, just run beyond me." So when it comes into me, so we had like good players like Lee Philpott and Martin Barlow would quality ball into him, right? He'd say, "Just run beyond me." And what he done, he said, and Marv will know this. So if Marv, you're marking him, he'd tell me to just break that line, go, you know, so into him, and he'd play it round the corner. He'd just nick it round the corner into my path, and I could then just break through. We did it so many times. And he'd say to me, "Paul, if I don't give you it, or I play it back into it, you'll already be in the box. Your momentum." And he said to me, "I want you," a bit like Trollope, "I want you in the box every time the ball's crossed in the box." And I ended up getting 13 goals with him. And then about 6 in the next year before he moved on. But he was brilliant to play with. Absolutely brilliant, aggressive. And you know, Marv, because he was with you.
Yeah, I mean, he was at Luton for a short while, and I was very surprised. He wasn't there long, because he was, in my opinion, a perfect Luton player in all what you just spoke about, how he loved the ball into his feet, got his backside into you, brought other players into play. He was a real, and a goal scorer as well, like you said. So, I mean, he was a perfect player for Luton, but for whatever reason, I'm not sure if he got unhappy or whatever, and he wanted to leave, and the rest is obviously history, because he had a fantastic career at Leicester as well, didn't he?
Yeah, he scored in cup finals. Yeah, he would have been brilliant for Luton, because like with Steve Claridge, you didn't even have to look. You knew where he'd be. You could play it round the corner. He was always there, pinning.
Yeah. So talking of your time at Luton, obviously you went there. You're a manager. When they're in the conference, just talk through kind of your memories of being manager of Luton. I know you went there for a huge amount of time, but.
I think you touched on it. You can mean, because I don't think you could have. I mean, most people realise why you left Luton, obviously. But I mean, again, you mentioned it earlier. You're stuck to sort of like stipulations, which when you sign something that you can't really speak about it. But maybe you might be able to elaborate a little bit why, obviously.
Yeah, first of all, Andrew, I was extremely proud. I was flattered that Gary Sweet had got in touch and offered me the job. I was absolutely thrilled, and it was a no-brainer for me. I was never going to say no. It's a club I knew really well. It was a club that has found itself in the conference, just like, Torquay had, of course, a much bigger club than Torquay, but with the same troubles. Torquay, everyone wanted to beat Torquay in the conference every game. They raised their game, and it was no different at Luton. So I felt well equipped to go and do it. It was close to where I was born. I knew the club, and I knew how difficult it is to get out of the conference. Really difficult. So I was extremely proud. I only have one picture on the wall of when I've lost, and the one you can see behind, which is the Luton one, because I'm so proud of it at Wembley, because we went so close in that bit where I come in and took over from Gary. We agreed the deal quickly. Like I said, I had really good staff there. Alan Nilsson, Simon, in the medical department. It was all set. And what Gary had said to me was that the club run like a championship club, and he was spot on, because he made in no uncertain terms they were going to get back to the championship. He was crystal clear on that, and I could see it. I could see the way the club, functioned. When I got in, I had to hit the ground running. We were trying to remember the game that I watched before taking the game against Hayes and Yedding. I can't remember the team still, Marv. No, Alan Devonshire was the manager. And
was it Hastings?
No. Alan Devonshire was the gaffer, and anyway, it was a small little ground. It was a Saturday. I sat up with Gary and Wilco to watch it, and Cards and Nils took the team. We got beat 3-0. Luton over 1,000 behind the goal, and Wilco joked with me, leant down and said that it's not too late to back out. But I was never going to back out. I was never ever going to show responsibility there, because it was such an honour to be the manager there. It really was. Biggest club I managed. I loved my time there. We just missed out. I mean, in that first year, we hit the crossbar. So to go to be 18 points behind someone like, was it Wrexham at the time? Yeah. We took 14 points out of a possible 18 to get to the playoff final. And I couldn't have been more confident in the team in that playoff final. We'd had heartbreak the year before when we lost on penalties, if I'm right in saying.
Yep.
Wimbledon.
Yeah.
Yeah, Manchester, Wimbledon, right? So if you think about it, it was 100% the right call. At that moment, when I'm leading the team out at Wembley, it was 100% right from Luton's perspective and mine, that I'd come in and been able to take them points, interact with new staff, a new team. But after that game on that Saturday where we got beat 3-0 and it weren't good, I had to move quickly, and I knew how to do that. And we was at Kenilworth Road on the Sunday morning. There was no day off. That was a planned day off. I wasn't ready to do that. We needed to toughen up. We needed to defend the box better. We did a set play. My first session was defending set plays at Kenilworth Road. And I said, if we got a steeliness about us and we got, we could fight, then we would have a chance, because we had some quality players, but we needed it in that order. And we got it. I think we got it. I think I was proud of that start. I was devastated to lose the final. It's the worst feeling in the world. Still angry about the goal that was given against us, which Mick kindly, Mick Hartford, who, if you're watching Mick, get well, mate, said, this game should still be going on because we were robbed with the offside goal. But look, that's that. I had a great time. The second year, of course, in the league wasn't what I wanted and what we expected, of course, but that can happen. But alongside that was an incredible, unprecedented cup run for us. So I suppose you can't have it all. If you'd have said to me in 50 games, we'd have got to a playoff final and, got us further in the FA Cup than we have done since probably 93. I'm not sure to turn that down, although I'd have loved promotion. But yeah, I loved my time. And like Marv said, when I left, Andrew, it was a really unique situation because my wife had been offered a job in the States with NBC to host the Premier League. It couldn't be released because she had to wait for them to release it. I went in confidence, obviously, to Gary and said, I'd made my mind up that I was going to go. It was an opportunity for my wife that she would probably never have got in the UK, and I'd thought about it long and hard. I'd had some personal problems as well in terms of I'd gone through a divorce. That is the gospel truth of it. 2 children from my first marriage, Johnny and Chloe. One was 16, one was 18. So Johnny was going to be an apprentice at Torquay. Chloe was, up and running, and the age she was at. And I felt the opportunity was right. And so I wanted to go. Gary was brilliant with it. Wilco, they wanted me to stay on to the end of the season, but you're talking about February, and we were going to be moving in May. And if you're going to emigrate, which is what we did, we were emigrating. I had to put family first, and it went out as personal reasons because it couldn't be said. And I suppose that might have looked like I was walking away from the job, but no chance. Wasn't afraid of, if Luton had decided that I wasn't right and I couldn't have got them up because there was a lot of games left, I'd have took that on the chin. No problem at all. But that was the real reason why I had to leave and go. And who knows if I'd have stayed. It was a good squad. I made, of course, at times when you're putting a squad together, you're not going to get it all right. But in the 50 games, I suppose my return as a manager, you look at your win percentage. That's what you do. I was proud of, but I love the club. I still love the club. I'm delighted the job that Nathan's doing now. He's done a brilliant job, and I'm so pleased they're back where they belong. But yeah, that's the story, really.
No, thank you for your honesty. I think it's important. We're speaking before the pod about managers having an opportunity to have their say, and so often they don't get a chance to put their perspective across. So it's fantastic to hear from you to actually have an opportunity to say what actually happened and clear some of the kind of the speculation is probably the best way of putting it.
Mm. Yeah. Sometimes, Andrew, you say, oh, amicable agreement and stuff like that, right? The one great thing about the leadership at Luton was that they had sort of understood how difficult it was to get out of the league, and they absolutely got it right with John Steele. Of course, I've come up against John a number of times, and someone was always going to get him out of the league. And I think all the managers made steps towards that. You know that as a manager when you go in, what you're taking on. We spoke about that before this podcast. But I look back, and the Luton fans were absolutely. I mean, to walk out of Wembley and see 30,000 Luton is something most people in their lifetime won't get. I got that opportunity, and I couldn't be more thankful. When we're drawing, I couldn't understand how we can go and beat Wolves and Norwich and then not be able to beat Dartford. But it's part of my history. I'm part of the club's history in terms of being the manager, and I couldn't have been prouder. I was fully supported, and like I say, I have nothing but good wishes for Luton.
Oh, fantastic! Thank you. We'll move back to our best 11.
Yeah. I've got one more, right?
One to go. Striker. Okay, we'll be quick. Yeah, he played with me at Brentford, and he got a move to Wimbledon. Wimbledon, jokingly, I think he was the guy. They liked us at Brentford, Marv. Similar styles.
The one I was thinking of beforehand, yeah. He had a brother as well, didn't he? Played at, they both started up for the yellow team, I think. Him and his brother, the twins.
You can't mention that team, can you?
No.
You can wear a hat.
The yellow team.
Yeah, what's the hat all about? I just noticed that.
What do you mean?
You got a yellow hat on.
He's got a yellow.
Yeah, but
turn it round. Turn it round. Has he got a hornet on the other side? Yeah.
Yes.
No, it hasn't. It's got nothing to do with them. Wash your mouth out, you two. Disgusting. You even suggesting that.
Can't believe you're wearing yellow. That don't suit you at all.
That's my favorite. That's always been my favorite colour as a kid growing up. Got nothing to do with that stupid team down the road. All right, but let's move on. Enough said about them. Dean Oldsworth.
Yeah, you got him. Of course you have. Do you play against him, Marv?
Yeah, as I said, when they're down the road, because his brother used to play centre half, David. Yeah. I got on well more with David, to be fair. And Dean was the centre forward, and David. I mean, they were both like they gave as good as they got, sort of thing. But
Did he score against you, Marv?
Yeah, Dino? Yeah, I think he did. I mean, he would have done.
Yeah.
I mean, underrated, really underrated. I
very
think.
Underrated. Yeah.
He was surrounded by other kind of maybe more big name players that took, especially at Wimbledon, that took the limelight.
Yeah.
You're talking Vinnie Joneses, etc. Those, you know what I mean? Fash. They were always the bigger personalities, even going on into the 90s. So I don't think he ever got the full. And obviously, Joe Kinnear took a lot of that face time and press time and stuff himself. But it was something. Yeah, Dean Holdsworth was very underrated, but I can never quite put my finger on what type of striker he was. He was a poacher.
I just want to say that is that Bucks. If you got him in that team, was he like the goals? Because I mean, did you not play with another great? Well, I wouldn't say great striker, but I mean, I thought he was a good player. Rob Taylor. He was at Brentford, wasn't he?
No, he played. No, Rob was just after. He played with Gary Blissett, Marv.
There was another one who could score goals.
Yeah. The three of them went. Blissett, Oldsworth, and Gailey all went. They took three of our front four, all went to Wimbledon. And the type of player Dean was, because back in the 90s, you always had a big one and a small one, right? So you'd have one flicking it, one trying to get in on the flicks. If the big one comes short, drag the centre half short, you know, Dino would get in. He was quicker than I think a lot of defenders give him credit for at their peril. He knew his strengths. So he was someone that would, I remember making my full debut at Birmingham away, and he got the winner. And I remember in all the games he'd speak to me. So he knew like the people that could serve him the ball. He'd make it clear what he wanted. He'd say, "Don't even look." He said, "Look, if you've got time on the ball, I'm going to go. I'm going to go behind the defender. Don't fail short. Put it in there, and I won't let you down." And he did that. He done that. I remember one at Bolton away where. Exactly that. I got it in and around the halfway, and I looked up, and he was gone. He'd made like that diagonal run, and I just played a straight ball over it, and he would get in. But his biggest strength was he was super aggressive. You know, he was nasty. He was nasty, and he is strong, very, very strong. But I'd say he played a width for the box. Dino, you wouldn't see him going too far wide. He wouldn't run the channels and all that. He played a width for the box. He would get hold of it, lay it, and get in the box. You know, his game was very simple. Get hold of it, and if he didn't cross it, and if he didn't put it in there, oof, you know, that feedback. If the wingers didn't deliver, because he'd just make that run across the first defender. He was brilliant at that, and scored a bundle of goals. Great lad off the field as well. He had a brilliant team spirit at Brentford. That team. And he come from Watford. I think he come on a free transfer. I think he broke his leg at Watford. David was the one getting in at centre back. Yeah. And Dino, top person.
And what about another one at Colchester? We might not have played with him though, but Alec Chamberlain had him in his team, and he said like if he didn't break his leg or do his ACL, he would have probably got a move to Liverpool. This player. He came to Luton as well, played up front.
I'm turning into you now. See, I'm not an anorak like you are.
Tony Adcock.
Yeah, Tads, yeah. Good. Yeah, great player. I didn't know that about Tony. We've been on one of these group chats that I told you about. Right. And Tads was the last one on. You know, it's like, where's Tads? Where's Tads? You know, like, it's like, and then all of a sudden he pinged up, like appeared, and he was another one. I mean, the few goals I got at Colchester was normally him setting you. You know, he had great care. Could lay you in. He beautiful touch on him. Tads, yeah. Quiet guy, unassuming.
Yeah. Definitely. So we move on to the manager. Obviously, being a manager yourself, who got Marv?
I'm guessing. I think who's the manager? I think I know.
Who would manage your team?
Who's the manager? Yeah, who's going to manage your team? Manage this team, you think?
That's managed me, that I've played for, yeah?
Yeah, your best manager is going to be able to manage the team that you've just picked. And I'm guessing that it's a certain man who's at Tottenham.
Yeah, I mean, Steve Perriman. Someone that takes a chance on you at 16. and gives you your debut, which is everything. And has also been a great mentor to me, because he was at Exeter for 12 years. And make no mistake, they had some really great managers there, you know, that have gone on, but he was behind the scenes. Steve's an expert at being behind the scenes, right, and not at the front of it. And but to play nearly 1,000 games for Tottenham, captain Tottenham, he's had a massive impact on my career. And he was a great manager, Steve, because he was totally dependent on having a gaffer that would believe in the young players. If you haven't got that, you've got no chance in an academy. If the gaffer won't play you, and so many of them now are under pressure to get the wins. We know the role of the manager now, but no, Steve Perriman, he's an absolute class act. I'm still pretty scared of him now, actually. A bit frightened of him now. You know, like, he's got that edge to him.
So Steve Perriman would be the man you're going to pick to lead this 11, yeah?
Yeah. Stevie P would be the gaffer.
Excellent. Okay,
Fantastic.
so obviously I'm out here with you now. I obviously speak to you quite often, and I know a lot of what you are doing now, but maybe some of the clubs who you managed back in England don't actually know what you're up to and been up to since you've been out in America. So we'd like to finish off with you just give us a little bit about what you're doing now. Yeah,
no problem, mate. So I came to the States, obviously in 2013, completely different, you know, as big as Luton are and the other clubs that I've worked with. In America, they didn't have a clue. So I was up against it. I started again, Marv. I sort of went back to what I said to you about learning my trade. So I took an academy in New York, led that up, was on its knees, really was a success when I left 2 years later and got a break with a club called Sacramento Republic, big team in Northern California, which meant us moving from East Coast to West Coast, which is about, you know, thousands of miles. I had 3 good years there. And then really I felt fulfilled. I felt like I'd done what I wanted to do. I had no real desire to manage an MLS. And I decided, my father-in-law suggested that I should be a consultant. And I didn't really know that the owners and ownerships had advisors. I didn't really know that. But when I dug a bit deeper, everything's decisions, Marv. Like everything in life is a decision, more or less. And football clubs are making decisions on a regular basis. So with the new clubs starting here, which there's loads in USL starting up, brand new clubs, somebody's going to give them the ideas on what to do. And if they say what they want, how do they get it, that type of thing. So that's what I do. I've got my own consultancy business. I work for a number of clubs. I lead an academy. Obviously, I went back and had a spell with Southampton to sort of revisit what they're doing in academies now. Yeah. I've done affiliations, so I affiliated Southampton with Hartford Athletic. I work I work a lot of hours for Hartford. I work with a great guy called Bruce Mandel, who's the owner at Hartford. But basically, it's getting clubs or owners to choose the model they want. So what do you want? What are you looking for? Okay, once I understand that, then I can then go and help them recruit, get what they want. Or if they say to me, Paul, how do we do this? I give them the strategy. That's what I do. I have an analysis guy that work alongside me that will do the presentations with me for clubs. And it's all types of help. Sometimes clubs can't win. Sometimes clubs, haven't got the framework right. But ultimately, it's about profiling. Just like I spoke about Nath now at Luton. It's a great chemistry. It's a great fit. And I think, if you can profile it, it's got a chance of working rather than just sort of like not knowing why you're bringing people in. So that's what I do now. I love the job. I'm busy, as you would know from being here. I'm busy in a lot of different aspects of the club. I don't miss management, but I love seeing managers like Harry Watling. So it's important for me to mention a young head coach, Harry Watling, who I employed at Hartford. Harry came out of the academy at West Ham. He's 31. I can offer him support, in what's a really high-pressure role. So that's where I'm at now. Also help a couple of clubs in England as well. So yeah, just trying to help people be successful.
Excellent.
Fantastic, fantastic. Well, it was lovely to hear from your team and all the ex-players and some of the pros and cons to all those players, and obviously then as well hearing about what you're doing now. So I just want to say on behalf of my best 11, thank you very much, Paul. And that was Paul Buckle's My Best 11.